let's see if we can get this pool review finalized here. So here it is, set up and about as functional as it's gonna get. So first thing, we're gonna go over and unplug the filter because it's loud and it blows the audio out. Alright, so we're going to talk about these. These are the swim jets that project the water into the pool. As you can see, this one's cracked. So I was lucky that I had spares. But the problem is that you get a lot of water leakage around in these things because they're not really well made and there's really no way to seal them up and still be able to move them. And you have to be able to move them pretty often. You can see this one's the same way. It's pretty rough. Just kick it out of the molding, do no work to it, and send it off. So this is just something else that's cracked. Luckily I had spare. This is the last spare. All the other spares are actually in the pool.
Okay, quick little edit to throw in there. I shot that video the other day and came back the next day and another one of the rings had cracked. So now I have two of them. So all of the spares are now in the pool, including the one that I took out because it was leaking. The one that I installed, that one cracked. So now I've got one that leaks around this area right here, around that ball joint, without a crack, because this one with the crack was leaking all over the place, and this one with the crack was leaking all over the place. Not good manufacturing. No, not. They need to be made out of metal, otherwise they're going to keep cracking. So there's your quick video edit.
Alright, we can turn around, we can actually talk about the filter. You can see there is an isolation valve right there, but there is no isolation valve right there. So if you want to do anything with this pump, like, change the filter or clean the debris basket out or anything like that, and close that valve, then you got to come over here and do something really creative inside the water, under the water line, under the water line. Yeah, you get it. To block the water from that, because there's no isolation valve there, so it'll just keep draining the water out until it reaches the right level. It's a ginormous pain in the butt. And we can talk about this. This has got to be one of the worst things about this pool. Now this is the motor controller for the SuperStream jet pump. You can see there behind the bracing. But this thing is Wi-Fi. So it's got its own little Wi-Fi thingamajigger on the inside, which requires you to have another separate Wi-Fi source, so your house's Wi-Fi, in order to be able to register the app in order to get things to function through the app. Now, this is stupid. This is absolutely stupid. The only thing this requires is an on-off switch. It does not require Wi-Fi. It does not require Bluetooth. It doesn't require an app. You don't need to be able to control this from anywhere on the planet. That is absolutely stupid. It is just plain stupid. So this needs to be changed. You need to make this a simple on-off switch, because it's not even a simple on-off switch right now. And we'll get to that here in a little bit, because you can see this is the control wire for the on-off switch. It's got an isolation valve there. That's always good. Multiple isolation valves down here if you need it. These finally stopped leaking after a couple of different uses, but we're gonna get to some fluid dynamics conversation here in a little bit. As you can see, I've still got this giant hose over here. They never got me back my short one, but at this point, I don't even know that I want to change it out, because if you give me another hose, it might just be another leaky hose. Nothing's leaking for right now, so I guess it's okay, but it's a giant trip hazard, as you can see. It's just sticking out. It's supposed to be a little short hose, and the two short hoses they sent me, one supposedly they bench tested, leaked. Usually, it's unreal. You put it at full pressure, but it doesn't sit at full pressure all the time. You gotta do a better job with the hoses. And we can finally come over here and we can talk about the on-off switch, which is right here, which is actually supposed to be mounted here. So the switch is in the pool, under the water line. That's just dumb. That is a dumb design. To have it in the pool, under the water line, it's just another penetration to leak. But you've got this like 50, I don't know, 50, 75, I don't know how long it is, I didn't measure the damn thing. Cord that comes all the way back to the control box, that I end up with a bunch of it extra over here. But in order to actually install it, you have to take this entire cable and run it out through that hole in the side. That is insanely inconvenient when you could have just put a damn, you could have this, but you could have like an IP65 connector right here, something that's waterproof. So you don't have to run the whole cable through the damn pool. I mean, originally they had it mounted up some over here on the ladder, but then they changed it. I don't know why they changed it. It's stupid design. Speaking of the ladder itself, you can see these are the factory holes right there, and then there's one right there. Those were supposed to be, you know, you could line up with the rails from the factory. I had to drill new holes. Let's just put it like that. I had to drill new holes in order to get the hooks to line up to be able to secure this to the pool. It was wrong. But then again, this didn't come with proper instructions. According to the distributor who was talking to the manufacturer, this was the first of a brand new sort of way of doing things for the SuperStream pool. I got like one of the first ones, so I didn't even get proper instructions, which was insanely irritating. And then overall, the performance of this is underwhelming. And I'll explain why. I'm not an Olympic class swimmer. I'm not a sprint swimmer, but I've been swimming longer than I've been walking. So I'm a very efficient swimmer. I've also got a 6-foot wingspan compared to somebody who, like my wife, who's only got a 5-foot wingspan. I can overswim these jets if I try to freestyle. And that's based on, if I'm just in here frog swimming, you can push the current up against your chest and it becomes sort of a rocking motion as you're swimming. But if you go into freestyle mode, which is much more hydrodynamic through the water, even my slowest strokes become absolutely clumsy because I have to find the most inefficient way of swimming in order not to overpower the jets. And then last but not least, I don't have a PhD in fluid dynamics. I just have a basic understanding of the way fluid dynamics work. But the fluid dynamics of this pool are nuts. Okay, for starters, you can move the jets because it's flexible. So you can't actually ever get these jets in a fixed position. But that's not the worst part of it. You can see these are the intakes for the water to the pump for the jets. This creates these vortices in the corner. And then as you get in here and as you actually start stroking around, you create different flow patterns in the water. And what ends up happening is the stream that's supposed to roll right down the middle gets pushed off to the side. So you end up having to struggle to actually stay in the current because it won't stay in the center of the pool. The current itself wanders around the pool. So you can see it will start like this. And it's actually kicking off the one side, but again, I just fixed the ring that was leaking earlier. So they're not tuned again. I'm gonna have to get in here and futz around with them some more. But even if you can get, and at one point I did, I had what looked like a stream going right down the center of the pool. You could see it hit the back wall with a lot of force, curl around, and then start coming back up the sides. If the intakes were down in the other corners, this pool would function a lot better. But just it being a soft side changes the fluid dynamics of it enough to where the current itself is going to wander all over the place. And it just gets to be really frustrating when you're trying to get into just doing some swimming, doing some exercise, but you're struggling to do that because this just doesn't act the way that it's advertised. And I get there's a lot of stuff that doesn't go into the advertising because you're trying to sell a product, but this is not an endless wave pool. Endless wave pool is a solid pool. This is a soft side, flexible pool. So the dynamics are going to be different, the flow is different, everything's different. For me, this is not as great as I hoped it would be. For my spouse, who again is much shorter than I am, full 12 inches shorter than I am, that's fine. But I actually have to struggle in order to do the basic swim strokes in here. And if I get into anything more than either doggy paddling or just frog kicking, and I'll demonstrate, it pushes the current around so much that I end up bumping up the front of the pool, or I'm just struggling to swim. And it's because I have to modify the strokes to stay in the current. And again, it just gets extraordinarily frustrating, and it's not supposed to be like that. So for me, my recommendation is I would not buy this Super Stream. If you have something like this in mind, keep saving your pennies and end up buying an endless lap pool, because you're going to be way less frustrated with something that was fully engineered to actually be an endless lap pool, to where it's like swimming in a river. This is not so much. This was something somebody dreamed up and slapped onto it as an additional system. So it doesn't work all that great. It works kind of, but it just overall doesn't work that great. So my recommendation, don't get this. The pools themselves, I guess, are fine. They sell a lot of the Splash Super pools without the Super Stream, and people don't have problems with them. People love their Splash Super pools. I'm just not in love with this because it was not supposed to be just a pool for recreating and hanging out in. This is supposed to be physical therapy, the whole kit and caboodle, and it's kind of hard to get it there. So do the best I can with what I got, because it was a ginormous investment. Just, I'm not happy with it because it doesn't do exactly what I thought it would do. It's advertised at 4.3 miles an hour. I thought that 4 miles an hour was an actually pretty strong current, but it's not. It's really not. At least not for somebody who can get into an efficient, mode of travel in the water because they've been swimming for so long. Yeah, you can see the water as it's moving, and that brings up, I guess, my last point is that this needs to have a vertigo warning on it. If your brain subjects you to vertigo, either from birth or by an accident, if you got a head injury, you are subject to vertigo, this will give you vertigo. Swimming in one place when your brain thinks that you should be moving forward, it throws you for a loop, and if you stay in it long enough, when you turn the water off, it really throws you for a loop, if you know what I mean. And if you experience vertigo, you know exactly what I mean. So I'm gonna turn this off now, and then I'm going to position the camera, lock it in, jump in, and then I'm gonna show you some of the stream issues with this. it is. So I'm pushing off to one side and see it. And it's just because of the way the water flows around the hole. But you start moving around, it's a soft side. It doesn't even give you an exact bounce every time. The way the waves propagate through the water, it hits the side, the whole pool jiggles around. So it comes back to center eventually, but if you're just trying to focus on what you're doing, anybody that swims for, this type of thing knows this. It makes trying to exercise extremely frustrating. As you can see, it's returned to the center now. But after, kicking into the wall, it's really not great. So you get the stroke here. And I'll show you that I can overpower this without even working too hard about it. Crooked because the water's just pulling my body in just different directions instead of just streamlining through. So freestyling is not easy to do. Again, the water starts moving, it starts flowing in a different direction. And I've even got the filter pump off because that affects it a lot. So every time you've got to get in here, you got to turn the filter pump off. And then you turn the stream pump on, and it'll start doing this down the middle, but eventually it kicks it off to one side. Now, I've swam in the ocean with different currents. It's still not quite the same as this with currents that just go in different directions. Then try this again. Very frustrating to try and swim this. Not recommended. Not by me, but that's my opinion. Have your own about it, but not happy with this as a product overall. From the start to the point where I'm at right now, no, it was a rough investment, it really was. So many problems with this pool. I do what I can with it because I don't want to get rid of it and start the whole process over again.